I am telling you once again, if you believe that Donald Trump and Iran will sign a peace treaty next week, or if you believe that within 5 or 6 months, both Iran and the US will exhaust one another, the global economy will take a massive hit, and then the conflict will end and everything will return to the way it was, I simply don't know what to tell you. Do you understand? You are living in a dream world. You need to wake up and realize that this is the end of the unipolar era. We are moving toward a new world. You either choose to adapt to this new order or you perish. It is that clear. Now, a massive trend is deindustrialization and a return to the countryside. Individuals in metropolises, especially the youth, will be forced to return to the villages. They must learn real crafts. Trading digital currencies is over for you. Experience milking a cow, slaughtering poultry, or growing food, whatever it takes, but do something useful for your life. Nationalism and rearmament will be vital. You will need to find young people willing to defend and fight for their country. This means convincing them that your nation deserves to be powerful. The states most prepared and skilled at persuading their youth to go to war will be the ones that survive. Trade systems will fundamentally shift toward independent trade blocs and raw material wars. Scarcity, mass destruction, slavery. Remember, for most of human history, cheap energy was human beings. If you do not have access to cheap fuel, you will enslave people. This is not a pleasant future, but it is a possible one, and you must mentally prepare yourself for this possibility. Expect mass migration waves. People in the South will suffer most from conflicts over water, food, and resources. Therefore, they will flee. They will seek refuge in Europe and America. In North America and Europe, we will see revolutions, internal conflicts, and political instability because the baby boomer generation refuses to leave the stage. Surging populations, massive injustice, massive corruption, massive stagnation. All of this will cause chaos in the streets. Faith is a major factor. If you are not religious, I suggest you explore the possibility of becoming a believer. It has proven very useful for what comes next. These are matters I will speak more on in the future, but for now, this is how I observe the world in the next 10 to 20 years. I believe that in Europe, a pact will eventually be formed between Russia and Germany. Perhaps Germany and Russia will clash for the next 5 to 10 years, but eventually both will realize it is better to work together than to hold a grudge. I envision Israel dominating the Middle East, but what about Iran? I know it's hard to grasp, but if America were to withdraw from the field and Israel and Iran were forced to fight, what would happen? They would ask, why? Because Israel says, I don't want Persian lands, and Iran says, I don't want Israel, and Israel has atomic weapons. Therefore, they would agree to divide the Middle East. Iran manages the Gulf, and Israel controls the Levant. Chronologically, Jews hated the Greeks and the Romans, but they loved the Persians. There is a history where Persians and Jews actually got along very well. In fact, the largest Jewish community in the Middle East, outside of Israel, is in Iran, and they are treated very well there. So, if America leaves the stage, why couldn't Israel and Iran reach a mutually satisfying compromise that benefits both nations? Japan. Again, the fundamental problem facing all Western industrial nations is the crisis of aging. What will you do with these 90-year-olds? They can't leave their homes, their minds aren't fully functioning, yet they still hold all the cash and authority. In most countries, you can't do anything about this. But Japan is a very exceptional country where the elderly feel a moral obligation to the nation. Therefore, Japan might suffer greatly, but the elderly may choose to step down voluntarily and hand power to the youth. I think Japan is the only nation that will do this willingly. In every other state, it will likely take conflict for the youth to take over. The American Sacred Empire. America is the nation most capable of surviving the coming decades of hardship and depression. Why? Because America is incredibly wealthy. It is protected by two great oceans and essentially dominates Canada and Mexico. Don't imagine America just as the USA. Think of it as the entirety of North and Latin America. It has endless resources, a vast population, and Americans are the most creative, proactive, and vibrant people in the world. I wouldn't bet against America. However, I believe that for America to survive this era of hardship, it will need a new identity. They will evolve from a secular global doctrine, Pax Americana, into a much more nationalist structure focused on society and the fatherland. This means embracing Christianity. I believe Christianity will be the power that reconstructs America after the many crises it will encounter in the coming years. The final phenomenon is techno-Marxism. Nations with resources will want to establish an AI-controlled surveillance state to better manage limited assets and, fundamentally, to control their people. This is a topic for later. But basically, you will witness a sharp division of people into different layers. Those at the very top will have freedom, while those at the bottom will become slaves or live in slave-like conditions. These are the trends I foresee. Again, I don't enjoy saying this, but you must abandon the thought that this war will end soon and everything will go back to how it was. The world has completely changed. We are not returning to the old world. We are heading toward a new one. And what that world looks like is something we can choose to manage. Best way to understand the geopolitical situation is to know that it is in a state of constant motion, constant vitality. You can no longer simply divide nation states among rivals. Their partnerships will change constantly over time. The nation-state structure will also fracture into much more resilient communities. Large states will likely evolve into a series of city-states. Imagine the world like the 1930s, or perhaps like China's warring states period. I cannot tell you that we are going to a new world and it will look exactly like this. No, it will constantly change shape over time. Alliances will shift. Initially, in East Asia, Vietnam, Japan, South Korea, the US, and Russia might unite to surround China because they see it as a leader. But then they might say, wait a minute, Japan is getting too strong, let's unite against Japan. It is a fluid situation, but the fundamental thing you must understand is this. Everything you were taught in school, everything you know about the world, everything you believe to be true is going to change. Therefore, you must keep your mind open and be prepared for constant political volatility.